family 13. Hello, my name is Jacob Ryman, and today I'm going to be pitching The Incredible Show. So my version of The Incredible Show focuses on the Incredibles family 13 years after the events in the movie. Fractured by the loss of Mr. Incredible, the family must reunite to save Jack-Jack, who's been abducted by an invading force of alien robots. The first season will reveal what has happened to our heroes in the interstitial time between the TV show and the movie. 5 years after the events of the film, Mr. Incredible sacrificed himself in order to save the planet, shutting a portal door to another dimension by stepping through and using his enormous strength to close it, disappearing on the other side. Eventually, Dash came to see this as running away from the family, while Violet considered her father as act as heroic. 8 years later, Violet and Dash are heroes in their own right, with Violet operating on the East Coast as the Silent Storm, and Dash working overseas as Speed Run, enhanced with new technological gadgetry invented by his wife and superhero companion, Dr. Ashi Chandra. Dr. Ashi wears a power suit that she designed herself based on Violet's telekinetic super abilities. When Jack-Jack, who lost his superpowers when his father disappeared, is abducted, the siblings will need to reunite and, with their powers combined, overwhelm the alien invaders and save Jack-Jack. Unfortunately, at this point in the story, the two aren't getting along so well. Resultingly, their mother will need to overcome the emotional rifts between the two of them in order to get them to work together. This version of Elastigirl will be much more emotionally driven and pushed to the edge by the loss of her husband and now the abduction of her child. She'll be willing to do almost anything, maybe even things that are a little outside of her character, to accomplish her goals. In order to accomplish those goals, our heroes are going to need to work with allies, and they're going to have to reach out to their former contacts in the government who can authorize the use of equipment and weapons and sanction any actions that they need to take against these invading forces. But they won't have to rely on the government alone. Ashi's father, Mr. Ravi Chandra, is one of the world's richest men, and his resources can allow our heroes to accomplish things that would be well outside their grasp without them. Unfortunately, these characters have their own motives. Oftentimes, the government might want to simply destroy the alien invaders, although our heroes don't want that because they have Jack-Jack. And Mr. Ravi Chandra simply wants to use those invading robot forces as an edge, wants to be able to take over them, which our heroes don't necessarily agree with as a tactic. The invaders themselves are an unknown force from an unknown dimension. They at first appear everywhere, dropping in from space and wreaking havoc all around the world, though the very, very, very first place they appear is to abduct Jack-Jack himself when he's on his way to his first day of sophomore year of high school. And as Dr. Ashi investigates, she's going to find evidence that they have a connection to the mysterious opening of the portal that Mr. Incredible had to step through in order to close 8 years previous. The only point that's known about them in the beginning is that they have a severe interest in Jack-Jack, and our heroes have a suspicion that may be because of Jack-Jack's seemingly limitless power that he has, although they're confused because they know that he had lost that ability when his father disappeared. Now, ultimately, our heroes will be able to assault these aliens, getting closer and closer to the center of the mothership where they believe Jack Jack is housed. But that is when the aliens will unleash their ultimate weapon, which is Mr. Incredible himself, albeit in a rage mode, furiously destroying everything in his path. And as soon as our heroes recognize him for himself, although he might seem mysteriously younger and even more powerful than before, they're of course going to not want to destroy or harm him in any way, but they need to stop him. And in order to make this happen, eventually Elastigirl has to remove her mask and let her husband see her face, and this breaks the trance that he's in, and he's able to kind of come back. Unfortunately, the aliens will have escaped with Jack Jack in tow as a result of them trying to contain Mr. Incredible's rage. And Mr. Incredible himself, it will turn out, is, for some reason, 15 years younger than he was when he entered the portal, and has absolutely no memories of entering the portal. And not only that, he has no memories stretching back for 15 years before he entered the portal, meaning that he has no memories of his children whatsoever. As a result, the family will need to reintroduce themselves to one another after all of this time apart and build and grow. And that would be in the successive seasons as they continue onward looking for Jack Jack in space, and maybe making new allies and enemies along the way. So there, for this show, it would have a much more mature theme and tone than the film itself did. And the reason I would choose this is because many of the people that were fans of the film when it originally premiered are older now, but we would want it to still be family appropriate. So the key demographic would be 14 to 29 year old males and females. So a little bit, and that's what you'd want to advertise, a little bit older than a traditional kids TV show. And for that reason, you'd want to put it in the primetime slot. So that way parents can control whether or not they're having their kids view this if the kids are at a younger age and aren't ready for these more adult themes. If focus testing proves that the themes of the show are a little too heavy, something that I would consider doing is adding supporting cast members that are much more zany and humorous and off the wall, such as a young superhero by the name of Bounce, who has control over the frictive forces and resultingly bounces literally off the walls quite constantly. And characters like that could be used to add a level of levity to the show. But overall, I think the tone of the show would be appropriate and would be a continuation of where the fantastic movie started. Thank you so much for listening.